Today, I'm going to show you a clever way to win your games very fast in a very strange way. So even though we have white pieces, we're going to be playing a black opening called the Nimzowitsch defense. This time we call it the reversed Nimzowitsch, and I'm going to show you two different ways you can play the reversed Nimzowitsch without even alerting your opponents. And just a friendly reminder, all of my courses are still on promotion. Yes, you still get 50% discount on all of them. That is, you will get a discount of 50% when you purchase any of my courses. Right, the first opening line arises from the normal Italian game, and the second line arises from the Vanit opening with knight c3. So let's begin with the first one that arises from pawn to e4, the king's pawn game. From here, you just want to go knight f3, and after knight c6, up to you to start with the 4 knights game, which is the simplest way, or straight away develop your last squad bishop. And here it doesn't matter whether black plays knight f6 or bishop c5, you can simply go pawn to d3, just a normal Italian opening game. After knight f6, you simply go knight c3. So the only difference is that we do not want to play pawn to c3 here. That will become the gioco pianissimo, a very silent game. So whenever you reach this position, just remember you want to play knight c3, which is called the 4 knights variation Italian. And the whole point from here is just to relocate the queen's knight to the king's side. By the way, doing the same thing that we do in the Vanit opening and the reversed Nimzowitsch. Most black players here play pawn to d6, after which we go knight e2. And probably if they cast a shot or something like that, we just play knight g3, and there we have our reversed Nimzowitsch defense. We'll cast a shot, play pawn to h3, and probably play pawn to c3 this time. We'll put our queen on e2 to avoid exchanging queens like that. And by the way, if you're worried about this last squad bishop, to be honest, we don't even need it. We don't need it. In fact, here you have an option to play bishop b3, which is very common, but there's this weird plan of just castling. I mean, you want to allow this capture to happen so that you continue guarding the d5 square like that. It will be very difficult for black to break this center. By the way, you can even play pawn to b3 in this position, next pawn to c3, or something in those lines. Look just how super solid your center is. By the way, I copied this very plan from Magnus Carlsen's game. This is what we're going to be working with. We're going to see something like this later. So I just want to mention something here. When you reach this 4 knights variation position with your 2 knights already out, you need to start thinking of the reversed Nimzowitsch defense, where you relocate your queen's knight to the king's side as highlighted on the board. And remember what I said, the other way to reach this exact position of the 4 knights is by starting with the 4 knights opening as follows: e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. And instead of playing bishop c4, you straight away go knight c3, because at least there is 99% chance that your opponent is going to copy you with the move knight f6. This is what people play either on lichess or in over-the-board games. See these 4 knights, right? This is why it's called the 4 knights game. Again, if you play bishop c4, your opponent will most likely copy you with the move bishop c5. This leads to the 4 knights game Italian variation, after which you go pawn to d3, they'll play d6, and now that's when you play knight e2 followed by knight g3. The rule is just never to rush with castle shot. Now, let me just go back a little bit. After playing bishop c4 in this position, yes, I do acknowledge that black can just take on e4. The main line is to take back, and after pawn to d5, you want to play bishop d3, so that after pawn takes, you take back on e4 with your bishop, also attacking that. Again, you don't really have to give up your bishop pair like that. You can play pawn to d4, play an open game from here. This could be anyone's game. It's just one of those things where the best tactician goes on to win. Like I said earlier, there's another way to play the reversed Nimzowitsch defense involving this knight maneuver. But this time we start with knight c3, which is called the Vanit opening, one of my favorite openings to play even in classical chess. Most people here play pawn to d5, which is the top played move, after which I'm always glad to go pawn to e4, because I know the top played move again is pawn to d4. You can check the master's database, but just in case black takes, here's what you do: you take back. If you check the master's database, Again, like here, you can see that the move knight d7 is the top played move actually. So when you're playing against somebody super strong or someone who is well read, they'll definitely play this move, knight d7, in preparation for knight f6 and pawn to e5. This is what they like doing. It's a theoretical move. When you see this, just play this crazy looking move, knight g5. If your opponent feels uncomfortable with that knight, guess what? You just go ahead and sacrifice your knight, because this is not just a normal sacrifice, it's actually a trap. Black's queen is dead. There's nothing they can do about it. I mean, if they take that knight, you have queen h5 check, and I mean, this is just a mate in 2. So this is one trap that introduced me to the Vanit opening, and that's why whenever you see pawn to d5 on move 1 after knight c3, be super happy to play pawn to e4. As I said earlier, the top played move here is pawn to d4, after which you can go knight c e2. Remember that plan of relocating our queen's knight to the king's side? Yep. Again, the top played move is pawn to e5, after which you complete your knight maneuver. There it is. If black plays something like pawn to c5, which they normally play, this is when you can go bishop c4, and if knight c6, you mess up their pawn structure like that, and then play pawn to d3 on the next move. Say bishop d6 as an example, you go knight f3, bishop g4, you always want to chase that light squared bishop away. They usually play bishop back to e6, but whenever you see a bishop on e6, be rest assured black wants to go pawn to c4 on the next move and probably break your pawn chain, so you want to play pawn to b3 to stop that. And whenever you see pawn to a5 at any point, you want to block that with a4. So the idea is to lock the queen side like this. As you can tell, there is no play on the queen side anymore, so there's nothing black can do on this side of the board. From here, we'll just concentrate, building our position on the king side. Knight f6, castle short, and there you start dreaming of putting one of your knights on f5, that juicy square. So you begin with knight h4, wanting to play that move. There are some people who will think your knight is somewhat free, or probably they will win a pawn on e4 after knight takes, because I mean, look at that. But this is a very big and a common blunder in the Nimzowitsch defense, where we just take the knight, and after queen takes, there we grab a free bishop. So we're just up a knight. As you can see, we're just up a piece. There's nothing black can do. So this is one of the coolest traps or coolest lines in the reversed Nimzowitsch. I hope I will play something like this in one of the games. But for now, it is time for me to walk the talk. Let's see if these ideas do really work in practical games. Okay, let's try this one more time. I'm going to start with the 4 knights game, because I'm pretty much sure my opponent is going to copy me. You can see. So now let's go bishop c4. If knight takes, I'll go pawn to h4. Yep, that's what I said in my tutorial video. Of course, the correct line, or rather the main line in this position, is to take with the knight. Knight takes e4, then after pawn to d5, you just go bishop d3. And after pawn takes, you take with your bishop on e4. So it is your last squared bishop that you want to place on e4 to target that knight. And at best, you want to keep your bishop pair. Probably put it on d5. So I want to play a tricky line that I'm sure my opponent won't be familiar with. It involves the move pawn to h4. So I'm giving up my c knight. There's a possibility black can go back like that. So the idea for them is to play pawn to d5. Now, I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is to interfere by playing knight d5. From here, you want to play an open game. So this is still a gambit. If I want to win this pawn, by the way, I can just take the knight. Okay? Just to make it clear, I can play bishop takes and take the knight, get back my knight. Of course, there is that, but it's just too risky for them to do that. So what I'm going to do is to open up the board like this. I don't have to give up my last squared bishop. Don't do that. So now that my position is open, it is safe for me to attack this pawn. If I want, I can take back with my h pawn. So look how easy things will be. I'm threatening to checkmate. Even if they take, I have h takes g5. Guys, this is exactly what I was talking about. I mean, you have all these options. People don't play accurate chess, trust me. So there's a saying in chess that everyone is a good attacker, but not everyone is a good defender. So for somebody to defend against this h4 line, they have to be very accurate all the way up to the end. This is checkmate, literally. So the best I can do here is to put my king on f1, I guess. Yep, like, I mean, there's no any meaningful continuation. Okay, that's a good try. But how about I just play this move and do that? But anyway, let's do this. The idea is to take. By the way, if pawn to g6, I have queen takes, and that'll be checkmate on the next move. So my opponent wants to checkmate. And if you think about it, this kind of looks like the what? The Caro-Kann. So bishop takes, I have bishop takes in this position. If that, I have this, I guess, checkmate. Let me see if this is going to be checkmate. This again, bap, checkmate. No, it's not going to be checkmate, but I'm going to win the queen. So let's try this. Oh, wait a second. Takes, queen takes, that check. Okay, at least I'm going to win the queen. So it's just a matter of being fast. From here, I can promote another queen. So obviously I'm going to win a queen in this position, unless my opponent wants to flag me or something like that, but I'll take that because I was just too slow. So let's try to be fast from here. Maybe I'm going to sacrifice my bishop now. Let's do this. Yep. So maybe the idea is to give a check and do it that way. Give this check. Okay, this is checkmate in 2. Pap and met. Ah, damn it! So I played my tricky line, my tricky 4 knights line, and I was able to defeat my opponent in 20 moves. Who am I? And what do I do for a living? Why? Now check this out, you guys. If you want to learn more about these kinds of tricks or similar opening ideas like the ones I just shared, you can watch this video that has popped up on the top left. Another video that I highly recommend you check out to skyrocket your rating is this one that has popped up on the top right. But if you love Gambit videos, you can check out the video that has popped up on the bottom left. And if you are a lover of chess traps like myself, feel free to click on the video that has popped up on the bottom right.